C.S. Lewis once said, "You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending." How often do you find yourself trapped in the shadows of what could have been, wishing you could rewrite the chapters of your past? Yet, even as we hold on to these memories, God's gentle reminder calls us forward. Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. The past is a closed door, and only by stepping away from it can we perceive the new paths God is carving out in the wilderness of our lives. His promise is not just to lead us, but to create streams in the wasteland, offering us life where we thought it was barren. Are you ready to move forward and embrace the new beginning He is offering? Stay with me as we dive deeper into this message, and don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let me hear a blessed from you all. What are you still holding on to that continues to weigh down your soul? What is it that you cling to so tightly, fearing that letting go might mean losing a part of yourself? These questions often reveal a deeper struggle within us, one that C.S. Lewis poignantly describes as the tension between our present self and the ghosts of our past. Lewis once wrote, "You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending." This truth challenges us to confront the past not with regret, but with the resolve to move forward. What is it that you're afraid to release? Is it a shattered dream, a broken relationship, or a failure that continues to haunt you? Lewis reminds us that dwelling in the past is a form of self-imprisonment, where we are bound by chains we forged ourselves, locking us in a cell of our own making. How long will you allow these chains to bind you? The reality is that our time on this earth is finite, and as Lewis so insightfully observed, the future is something which everyone reaches at the rate of 60 minutes an hour, whatever he does, whoever he is. We are all given the same measure of time, and yet many of us squander it, trying to rewrite a past that is already etched in stone. The divorces, the bankruptcies, the hard tragedies are but chapters in the book of your life, not the whole story. The pages have turned, and while the ink of those past chapters cannot be erased, new pages remain blank, waiting for the story that only you can write. Why do you keep rereading the same painful chapter? What if today you chose to let go, to stop trying to change what cannot be altered, and instead focus on the story that is yet to be written? C.S. Lewis believed that the present moment is the most significant, for it is the only time when we truly exist, the point at which eternity touches time. In his words, the present is the point at which time touches eternity. Are you living in that moment? Or are you still lost in the shadow of what was? The past may shape us, but it does not define us, unless we allow it to. Imagine the freedom that comes with releasing those burdens. The sand in the hourglass never stops running. Each grain is a moment of your life, slipping away, never to return. This is all we have, this very moment, right here, right now. So, what will you do with it? Will you let the past dictate your future, or will you take control of your story, starting now? Let the wisdom of C.S. Lewis guide you to a place of understanding and peace. Embrace the present with an open heart, for it is in this moment that the power to change your future lies. The past is gone, the future is unwritten. What you choose to do now is what truly matters. To spend your time now thinking about what happened back then is to ensure that the future will be the same as the past. All you've got is now. Let the dead bury the dead. Let it go. I don't care how bad it was, let it go. Stop looking back on your life and worrying about the things that have already occurred and which you can no longer alter. You cannot go back and change it, so let it go. Have you ever found yourself clinging to resentment, feeling utterly justified in your anger, only to realize that it weighs you down, much like throwing dust into a strong wind? C.S. Lewis once posed a similar question, asking, "Does mere time, by itself, make a great difference?" No, time alone does nothing to heal. Only the constant turning of our thoughts to Christ can truly transform our pain. Imagine for a moment that holding on to past grievances is like throwing that dust into the wind. Where does it end up? Back in your eyes, blinding you to the present and distorting your view of the future. Lewis reminds us that dwelling on past pain or fear of the future is like living in a house with broken windows, unable to see the beauty that lies just outside. He challenges us to question our perspective. Are we so fixated on what has ended that we fail to see the new beginnings God has placed before us? It's easy to look back with anger, to replay the scenes that have caused us pain. But what if we chose instead to look around with awareness, with an openness to the fresh possibilities that each day brings? Life can be seen as either a series of endings or a series of beginnings. How we choose to view our circumstances determines whether we live in the shadow of what has passed or in the light of what is to come. C.S. Lewis once said, "There are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind." This profound truth invites us to release our grip on the past, to stop living in reverse, and to trust that God's plan is unfolding in ways we cannot yet see. Think about the last time you experienced a significant ending in your life. Did you see it as a closing door, or did you recognize it as the opening of a new chapter? Endings, as painful as they may be, are often God's way of preparing us for something new, something better. But we must be willing to let go of the past, to stop looking back with regret or forward with fear. Lewis beautifully captures this concept when he says, "Getting over a painful experience is much like crossing monkey bars. You have to let go at some point in order to move forward. Are you willing to let go of the resentment, the anger, the fear that has been holding you back? Are you ready to embrace the new beginnings that God is offering you, even if they come disguised as endings?" Remember, every ending is a prelude to a new beginning. What God is about to do in your life is something new, something filled with promise and potential. As you reflect on this, ask yourself, are you ready to catch this vision? Are you prepared to see the endings in your life not as losses, but as divine opportunities for growth and transformation? In the words of C.S. Lewis, we must stop regarding unpleasant or unexpected things as interruptions of real life. The truth is that interruptions are precisely real life, the life God is always working through. So let go of the dust, stop throwing it into the wind, and start seeing your endings as the fertile ground where new beginnings are planted. God is doing something new, something extraordinary, and it's time for you to catch that vision and move forward in faith. Have you ever found yourself clinging to the remnants of a past that no longer serves you? Perhaps you've wondered why the memories of yesterday seem to have such a powerful grip on your heart, even when you know deep down that they no longer have the right to dictate your future. This struggle is something we all face at some point in our lives, yet it's in this very tension that we find the opportunity for transformation. C.S. Lewis once said, "You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending." This profound wisdom reminds us that while our past shapes us, it doesn't define us. Our past is a collection of moments, lessons, and experiences, but it is not the author of our story. God is. And it is in His hands that the narrative of our lives finds its true direction. Consider the possibility that the endings you've experienced, the heartbreak, the loss, the missed opportunities, might actually be the very soil in which new beginnings are sown. Lewis, in his classic work Mere Christianity, speaks to the idea that God uses our trials and tribulations to build something far greater within us. He writes, "Hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny." So, rather than cursing the past or allowing it to hold you captive, can you view it as a teacher? A teacher that, while stern and unyielding, has prepared you for the path that lies ahead. How do you let go of the past when it feels so entwined with your identity? How do you move forward when the past whispers that you are not enough, that you are bound by the mistakes and missteps of yesterday? The answer lies in where you place your focus. God calls us not only to remember but to reimagine. As Lewis eloquently puts it, there are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind. This isn't a call to forget your past entirely, but to recognize that its role is no longer one of mastery over your life. It is a chapter, not the whole story. In the hustle of daily life, it's easy to get caught up in the glamorization of what once was or the fantasy of what might be. We find ourselves paralyzed by the memories of the past or the dreams of the future, neglecting the power of the present moment. But God is at work in the now. And it's here, in this present moment, that the true transformation begins. C.S. Lewis reminds us, the present is the point at which time touches eternity. What you do today, how you choose to live, the steps you take, these are the threads that weave the fabric of your future. Are you ready to let go of the past and embrace the present with open hands? Are you willing to trust that the God who holds your future is also the God who redeems your past? Remember, the chains of your past and the strength of your future are both forged in the decisions you make today. The work of today is sacred, for it is the ground on which God is building your tomorrow. Will you step into it with faith and courage, knowing that something far greater lies ahead? In the journey of life, it's easy to find ourselves entrapped by the shadows of our past, haunted by offenses, bitterness, and disappointments that cling to us like heavy chains. But have you ever considered that by constantly looking back, you might be imprisoning yourself in a reality that no longer exists? C.S. Lewis once said, "You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending." This profound truth invites us to stop dwelling on what was and instead focus on what can be. Imagine for a moment that your past is like a rear-view mirror. It's small for a reason. It's meant for occasional glances, not prolonged stares. Yes, the past is a place where we can recognize God's faithfulness, where we can recall moments of grace and mercy. But should it become the lens through which we view our future? The Apostle Paul reminds us in Philippians 3 verse 13 to 14 to forget what lies behind and strain forward to what lies ahead, pressing on toward the goal. Why do we persist in rehearsing old wounds, replaying bitter memories, and ruminating on what could have been? Is it because we believe these past experiences define us? C.S. Lewis challenges this notion, reminding us that God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. Perhaps the pain of our past is not meant to anchor us there, but to propel us forward to a future where God's presence is not just a memory but a living reality. God is here, now, in this moment, urging us to let go of the old and embrace the new. He is not a God confined to our yesterdays. He is the God of our tomorrows. When Isaiah 43 verse 19 declares, "I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up, do you not perceive it?" It is a divine call to stop looking back and start looking forward. The new wineskin that God is forging cannot hold the old wine of past regrets and missed opportunities. It requires fresh faith, renewed hope, and a heart open to the rivers He is making in the deserts of our lives. What would it look like to finally release the grip on your past? How might your life change if you stopped longing for what was and started embracing what is and what could be? God is in the business of making a way where there is no way, of fulfilling His promises even when all seems lost. But to step into this new season, you must first be willing to let go of the old. Are you ready to stop looking back and start moving forward, trusting that the same God who was with you then is with you now, guiding you into a future filled with His purpose and promise? While He's doing a new thing, let's not keep longing for the old thing. I want to encourage you to prioritize your future over your past, not an old thing again, but a brand new thing. See, that's why we miss it. God is doing a new thing, and we think He's going to bring back an old thing. The reason we can't see it is because we're looking for an old thing, thinking God is going to bring back that person, that opportunity, or that thing. But God is saying, "No, I'm not doing an old thing again." When we declare that God is doing a new thing, it liberates us from the chains of regret and the haunting echoes of what might have been. It's easy to be trapped in the web of if only and what if. But God's promise of renewal invites us to step beyond the shadows of the past into the light of today's possibilities. C.S. Lewis, in his reflections on faith, reminds us that we are not necessarily doubting that God will do the best for us. We are wondering how painful the best will turn out to be. Are you clinging to a version of life that no longer exists, hoping to recreate moments that have long passed? It's not about trying to grasp yesterday's fleeting moments, but about embracing what God is unfolding before you right now. The beauty of God's new work in our lives is that it's not a rerun of old episodes, but a fresh script, a blank page where you can write today's story with the wisdom and grace you've gained along the way. Consider your marriage, your career, your finances, your dream shape. You found yourself trying to revive what once was, rather than seeing the new potential that God is placing in your path? C.S. Lewis once said, "You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending." This wisdom urges us not to drag the burdens of past failures into the new opportunities God is presenting today. If a dream has crumbled, it's not a signal to give up dreaming altogether. Instead, it's an invitation to rise and dream anew, to build something even stronger on the foundation of experience. Why do we often dwell on mistakes, playing them over and over in our minds as if we could somehow reverse the clock? The truth is, no amount of retrospection can alter the past, but what it can do is cloud our vision of the present and future. You might have poured your heart and soul into a goal that didn't come to fruition. Does that mean God has abandoned you? C.S. Lewis would argue that such trials are often God's way of molding us, shaping our character, and guiding us towards something even greater. He wrote, "Hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny, so, rather than reliving the pain of what didn't work out, why not open your heart to the extraordinary future God is crafting for you?" Remember, moving forward isn't about repeating history, but about partnering with God and writing a new chapter. It's about acknowledging that while you may have done your best and things still didn't go as planned, there is a divine purpose in every detour. So, lay down the weight of yesterday's disappointments and take hold of today's possibilities. What new dream is God calling you to pursue? Will you trust Him enough to let go of the past and embrace the newness He offers? As C.S. Lewis so wisely put it, there are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind. God is asking, how long are you going to mourn over what you've lost? How long are you going to be discouraged over who hurt you, what you didn't get, and the boss that wasn't fair? Come out of that pity party. Come out of living in the past. It's time to get away from where you've been parked all your life. It's time to go and do something amazing with your life. Move on. If God got you through it, it's done. Move on. How many times have we allowed God to get us through something, get us beyond something, get us over something, and even after its completion, we sit down and dwell on it? We dwell on it to the point where it becomes an anchor around our neck, and we can't move on because we just won't let it go. It's done. If God got you through it, it's done. Move on. Stop harboring the past. Stop hanging on to every time you failed. Stop hanging on to every time you slipped up and messed up. Stop hanging on to every time you didn't get it right. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody messes up. Everybody doesn't get it right. Everybody struggles with something. Where you're going is way more important than where you've been. Move forward. You may have made a lot of mistakes. You may have a lot of regrets. You may have blown your marriage or not raised your children right, but you can't do anything about yesterday. This is a new day. There are new victories, new opportunities, new relationships. Quit living in what was and come over into what is right now. There is freedom for you right now. There are new beginnings, joy, peace, victory. Crying over what happened yesterday doesn't bring freedom. Living in regrets of what could have been, what you should have done, doesn't do anything productive. It's time to drop it and move forward. One of the ways the enemy tries to mess us up is to get us to push rewind when God is saying, go forward. What God is doing is always ahead of you, never behind you. God is going to make available to you the power to move forward because He has promises for your future. Just because you had an unfair past does not mean you have to have an unfair future. You're going to break through. If your mind is always in yesterday, you're going to move in that direction. Paul said it this way in Philippians, I focus all of my energies on this one thing, forgetting what lies behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead. He knew that if we went through life carrying negative baggage, we would miss our destiny. Where was Paul's attention? What was he focused on? He stayed focused on what's next. He was focusing on what lay ahead. Even though he had experienced great victories and great lows in his life, he was not focused on the great victories of the past. He was not focused on the hard seasons of yesterday. He was focused on what's next. One of the ways that you and I can overcome and win the struggle against negative thoughts is by looking ahead, by focusing our attention not on the problem that we're going through and not on the pain and suffering of our past, but instead by looking up and knowing that there's still something good in front of us. Stay focused on what's next. Paul said, "I press on to take hold of it." We're pursuing a goal and reaching for what's ahead. This is very important. You must have something ahead of you. Stop circling back and going back to something in your past. I can't try to go back and deal with something in my past. Let that go. Goodbye. That's gone. I'm moving ahead. I'm going to what's in front of me. Where God wants you to go is ahead of you, not behind you. Stop going back. You have a great life in front of you, but your great life is in front of you. It's not behind you. What you did back there has nothing to do with what God has for you. What you did back there was learn the lessons to get you to where you are at this particular moment right here. But what God has for you, do you know that you can actually mess your life completely up? You can jack it all the way up and then turn around and get it right. Do you understand that? Do you understand that you could have had a baby out of wedlock and still be all right? Do you know that you can be divorced multiple times and still be okay? Do you understand that you cannot have a degree and still be just fine? Everybody's tripping through something. Everybody. I don't care who you are, you're going through something. But if you have God, you can make it. I'm just trying to tell you, man, God is really with you. You're going to move forward. You're going to have to trust that God is a keeper of His promises. I love that promise. I'll never leave you nor forsake you. It's a promise that no matter what the future may hold, God will hold you through the entire future. It's a promise that God is with you, that you don't serve a God who abandons you when things get hard or when things are difficult. No, He is with you every step and moment of your journey. He's with you right now. He'll be with you tomorrow. He'll be with you next week. He'll be with you next year. He is with you.